Welcome to part 3 of Tony the Dino tutorial. So in part 3 we are doing a ton of magic rings, so if you haven't gotten the hang of them yet, don't worry, by the end of this part I'm sure you will have. If you need help with the magic ring still, you can always go to part 2 where I do the magic ring in slow motion, or I do have a separate tutorial link below for the magic ring as well. So we're going to start off with our orange yarn doing a magic ring for the first spike. And we're gonna put in 4 single crochets in the spike. So do 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then go ahead and close up your magic ring. Be really careful it doesn't turn in on itself here, because the smaller the magic ring, the harder it is, and we only have 4 single crochets here. And we're going to start off this round by popping in 1 single crochet in the first available stitch, and then we are going to mark that first single crochet that we just made. We are increasing in every other stitch around, so we are going from 4 stitches up to 6 stitches for the spike. So we will be increasing in the next stitch here. So that's 1 and 2 single crochets. And then we are doing 1 single crochet in this stitch, and an increase in the very last stitch. So now you should have 6 stitches in your ring. Remove your stitch marker, pop in your first single crochet of round 3, and then mark that stitch. In round 3, we are just doing a single crochet all the way around the circle. You're going to have a total of 6 stitches at the end of this round as well, and that is it for the spike. So this is the last round of the spike. And as always, remove your stitch marker and then finish off with a slip stitch. And don't forget to weave in your tail here. It can be tricky because it's going to be a really small item, but it is really important to weave in your end so it doesn't come unraveled. And you're going to want to make 4 spikes. You can do 3 if you want, but I like to do 4. So go ahead and rewind this video and make 3 others exactly like this one. So now that you have 4 spikes, we are going to sew them onto the body. So to make it easier to sew, I like to trim the end piece of the tail pretty small so that you can just kind of shove it up into the spike. And then kind of squish the spike together to make a triangle shape. And we're going to sew the very first one on pretty far up the head. Just make sure you space it out properly so that you do have room for 4. Again, if you can only fit 3 on your dinosaur, that's totally fine. But I like to do 4, so just space it out how you want it. And sew on the spikes exactly like we did the arms and the tail. Just be a little bit cautious here because it is a contrasting color. You can get a little bit messy if you're not careful. So just make sure that you are sewing the spike really close together so that you're not showing a bunch of the orange thread while you're sewing it on. And I like to sew at a bit of an angle, so I'm going slightly under the spike and then through the spike, just to minimize the showing of the orange thread. So that is our very first spike sewn on. And you can just pop in your needle in the back and then out through the top. And then just go back a little bit and you can trim that off. And now sew on the last 3 remaining spikes exactly like that. I'm going to show you how I like to space them out. I leave pretty much no space in between the spikes so that I can fit all 4. And then the last spike is actually going to be sewn onto the top of the tail. And as you're sewing the spikes on, just make sure that they are centered the whole time. Make sure you're sewing them in a straight line down the back. Alright, so we've got all the spikes sewn on here. He is starting to look like a dinosaur. The belly is optional. You can skip out on the belly, but I think the belly is super cute, so I'm going to put it on him. And the belly is also done in orange yarn, so you can make your magic ring here. Again, if you need a refresher, I've got a tutorial down below, or you can go back to the slow-mo version in part 2. And then you are going to pop in 6 single crochets in this magic ring. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then close the magic ring up. In round 2, all we're doing is an increase in each stitch around, so pop in your very first increase here. And then, as always, mark the very first stitch that you did or the second V away from the loop. And all we're doing is an increase in each one of these stitches around to get a total of 12 stitches. And this is the last round of the belly, so it's super short. So just keep working your way around the ring until you get increases in all these stitches. Last one here. So you can remove the stitch marker, cut your tail, finish off with a slip stitch, and don't forget to weave in your end. So we're going to sew the belly in between the eyes about a row down. And make sure that you leave enough room here for a mouth placement. So I like to sew about 1 row down from the eyes. And then the exact same thing with the spikes. Just be careful when you're sewing the belly around. I like to kind of approach it all at an angle so that you can see less of the stitches. And just make your way around the circle, sewing it on. And the last step of the dino is to give him a little mouth. Again, this is totally optional, but I think a little straight line for a mouth on this dinosaur is super cute. So I'm gonna go a row below the center of the eyes. So right here, pick 2 holes that are evenly spaced apart from the eyes and pop your needle through both of those holes. And then all you're gonna do is put the yarn back through those exact same holes. And then pop your needle out through the head somewhere else. And then thread on the other tail and poke it out through the exact same hole that the other yarn is coming out of. Make sure they're coming out of the exact same hole, or else when you tie them together to secure it, it's going to show a little black dot. So to secure the ends, I like to just double knot them and then trim them off and poke the yarn back through the hole with your scissors. And there you have it, your dinosaur is complete. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. Thank you so much for supporting YarnyBox. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, comment down below, like this video, and be sure to follow me on Instagram at YarnyBox. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.